Congratulations to those of you who have been here for all 4 sessions. That makes you a weekly exhale superstar. You have been here for the past 4 weeks. We have made a month of this. Is that hard to believe? I know it is for me. So take a moment, and if there's somebody that you're close to that you can ping real quick with a text, send them the link to jump in. Maybe it's your cousin, your sister, your coworker, a friend, someone that may just need to exhale this week. Take a moment to ping someone. Today is going to be great. So, again, we have made it to week 4, and we are closing out our series on surviving hard seasons. Last week, we spoke about words and the words that we speak. This week, we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to go to the question of where do words come from? Words come from thoughts. Thoughts create thought pathways. And from thought pathways, there's a course of conditioning. That course of conditioning, you'll learn, will lead to, or point to, or arise from neuroplasticity. It's a word you may be hearing more, and that creates our repathing. So let's go ahead and open up with our morning breath work. This technique, I promised you a different technique this week. For the past 4 weeks, we've been doing box breathing. Today, we're going to do a physiological sigh. So you know how you can take a sigh, like, we're going to actually be intentional with that sigh. And we're going to speak to our nervous system as we go into this week. We're going to create some intention with how we speak, how we think, and how we breathe. It's as simple, it's powerful, and it is scientifically shown to reduce stress. The beautiful thing about this is that you can do it anywhere. No matter where you are, you can be in the middle of a meeting, or you could be headed into a presentation. You can be pulling up into your garage. This doesn't require anything extra, just your intention. So, again, before we start, let's do what we always do. Get a little breathing room. So I want you to take a slow inhale through your nose. A nice, slow inhale through your nose. Let's go in. Take a second small inhale at the top of this through your nose, and then a long exhale through the mouth. Go ahead, keep going, keep going, keep going. Empty your lungs completely. You almost start to feel your body cave in. Now let's do it again. In through the nose. Nice and slow, nice and slow. No rush, no rush, nice and slow. Now, when you're at the top of that, take another small inhale. That's all you have room for is another small inhale. Take it in. and then a low, long, slow exhale through your mouth. We'll do it one more time. Go, 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 go. One more time, we're going to inhale through our nose. Keep going, keep going, keep going. When you feel full, take one last sip of air. And now a long exhale. Right away, start to notice the difference in your body. Sometimes the first step to surviving a hard season is just simply giving your nervous system a little oxygen. That's what we thrive on, that's what we live on, that's what's necessary for us to be alive. So bring in more oxygen whenever you need to feel alive. So again, welcome to week 4 of the weekly exhale. I can hardly believe it's been a month. Last week we talked about the words we speak, the words we say to others, and more importantly, the ones that we say to ourselves. The week before that, we talked about self-awareness and what is required for us to really be able to survive hard seasons and then to come out on the other side to thrive. Because words don't start with our mouth, we're going to go a little deeper to see, where do these words come from? Where are these words that we generate, these dialogues, sometimes of negativity, sometimes of criticism, sometimes of frustration, self-deprecation, and sometimes it's over inflation of things. So where do these words come from? They start with our thoughts. Our words start with our thoughts. And our thoughts, they often become or patterns or even come from patterns that we've been practicing for years, decades, maybe even since childhood. And the empowering thing is this: just because we learned something early or we've become accustomed to that's just how I am, or we have allowed ourselves to be guided by someone else's rules and we play by those rules, even though those rules don't necessarily suit or serve us now. So what's empowering today is not so much about the past that we're digging into today. We are digging into the possibility that just because we've learned something and carried something, it doesn't mean we have to carry it forever. So we get to decide, and our choices follow suit. So the two common hard season thought patterns that I'll share today, and there are many, but I wanted to give us two main ones to just kind of snack on, if you will. I want you to think about that pattern that we've already discussed with the negative self-talk, the criticism. I should be doing better. Why can't I figure this out? I should be further along. I'm behind. Those kinds of thoughts that populate our words. So pattern 2, though, is especially for high achievers, high performers, those who are used to success, we power through. So there's a train of thinking that's not always a necessarily negative self-talk. but it's the power through thinking. Here are a few examples. I'll just push through. You know what? Let me handle it. Let me take care of this and I'll just deal with myself later. I just need to get through this stretch. I know I've done that before. I just need to get through this stretch. Let me get through the week. Let me get through the day. And then a very, very common one that often has followed us through childhood, through college, for those that have attended college or military or whatever your next steps have been in adulthood. This one is a very common one. It is a way of thinking that we just function under without even thinking about it. And this one is everyone is counting on me. Is that resonating? And very commonly, these two voices will often run together. So there's this negative thing going on in our head, and that is what fuels the power through thinking. If I'm saying to myself I'm behind, then I'm also saying at the same time, um, I'll just push through. If I'm saying to myself, I thought I'd be further along, then sometimes we're saying everyone is counting on me, so I need to pick up the pace. I need to get it together. So often these two voices will run together, and neither one gives the mind much room to breathe. That oxygen that we just talked about, that inhale and exhale that we just took. Neither one of these thought patterns, these word patterns, gives the mind much room to breathe. It's the automaticity of behavior. So as we kind of let that sit for a moment, maybe reflect on, is that something, a pattern that you've seen for yourself? Can anybody relate? Put it in the chat. Let's wake up. Let's wake up. Let's wake up. Put it in the chat. Yes, no, maybe. Yes, no, maybe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Anybody, anybody tried the power through method, regardless to our capacity? Oh, that's a whole nother talk. Yeah, yeah. We got a thumbs up. A thumbs up already. So why are we talking about this though? Why are we talking about this? What does this have to do with surviving hard seasons? Yeah, yeah, we're getting a yes. I'm doing it now. Yeah, powering through. And what does this have to do with surviving hard seasons? Oh, that's for another time. Let me hold on to that one. Let me hold on to that one. That's another session. It just came to me just like that. Thank y'all for helping me. So let's talk a little bit about where thought patterns have gotten us up into this point. So I invite you into just a quick, gentle reflection. Nothing heavy this morning. Everything is always light and it's to get us lighter. So always be thinking light, light, light. But take a moment and ask yourself, when things get hard for me, does my mind lean towards more of the self-criticism or more of the self-pressure? Just reflect. Maybe even write this down or feel free to use the chat. If neither one of those are where you are right now, just whisper it to yourself. When things get hard, does my mind lean more towards self-criticism or self-pressure or both? Because many of us will carry both. So here's something really important to remember about the brain. Our brains learned many of our thinking patterns, and I want you to really hear the word patterns. Our brains, which are, I use the word neuroplastic. I'll share a little bit more about that in just a moment. But our brains are just amazing instruments, amazing organs, an amazing ecosystem all in of itself. And our brain learns, it remembers, it holds on to. And those things that we act out of become our patterns very early in life. Not because anyone was necessarily trying to harm us or, trying to traumatize us or maim us for life. It's not really necessary to go back that way in this conversation. This is not a blame. This is not again, more negative thinking or maybe even at that time, things that worked very well that created this sense of success that can't let people down. Maybe you were super encouraged that you're the best, to be the best, to work hard. So it's not so much how the words or the came about in this conversation. It's just understanding that our brains learned our current thinking patterns very early in life because we were learning how to navigate the world. And we were learning it from other adults, whether it's what they said or what they did or what we saw or what we felt or didn't feel. So some of us learned to be the responsible one. Some of us learned don't complain. Some of us learned to figure it out. Some of us learned don't make mistakes. Some of us took away be helpful, be strong, don't show weakness, take care of other people. And quite frankly, these messages in that context, they really often helped us to succeed. At the time, those were not so harmful, in fact, helpful things to help us succeed or get to the top of our class or gain scholarships or be able to make it, through difficult times. But here's the thing, sometimes the brain continues using those same patterns long after we've grown up and those situations have changed. So, maybe a few more examples. Like as kids, some of us learn if something breaks, fix it. If someone is struggling, help them. If something goes wrong, work harder. Again, not bad lessons, but translate that into an adult brain now. And so we are now thinking, I'll carry it, I'll handle it, I'll push through it. So just take a moment and think about that, how that's showing up in your life today. And if it's not you, maybe it's someone you know. But if it's someone you know, it likely resonates with someone you do know, even better, yourself. You know, the pastor always says, don't look to the side, don't think about somebody else in the sermon, think about yourself first. Same. So sometimes it's not for us to carry. As we're maturing, many of us midlife and deciding how and what we want to do with our second half of our dash, sometimes the wiser move is to not carry it, but to put some of that stuff down. Some of those thought patterns, we can put those down. We can decide to put those down. So, for those of us this morning that are tapping into this, I'm going to ask you to get curious for a moment. When I say get curious, just for those of you who may not be used to to my teachings and style, when I say let's be curious, no, I'm hitting you with some questions. Okay. I'm hitting you with some questions. So that's often a good time to reach for your journal or your notepad or your napkin, whatever you have beside the bed, if you can do it safely for those of you who are driving, or maybe you have one earplug in and you're supposed to be doing something else. Not just yet, but remember these questions. What messages did I learn early about being strong? What messages did I learn early about being strong? My phone ringing, y'all. Sorry about that. When things go wrong, what is my automatic role? What's my automatic role? How do I pop in? How do I show up? Hmm? Do I become the fixer, the helper, the responsible one? What expectations have I been carrying for a long time? And are there any that I'm ready to update? Because we are allowed to grow beyond the coping and navigating strategies that we learned as children. We can, we can update. So I promised I would share a little bit with you about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to update. Think about the computer and the OS that we have, the computer or your phone. Those are nimble. They're updates that occur when needed. And so here's what is the good news for us is that our brains can do the same thing. Our brains are incredibly, incredibly adaptable. The neuroplasticity that I mentioned, means the brain can form new pathways throughout our lifetime. That's why when we go from being single, being partnered, maybe, we can learn new pathways when we become parents or when we take on new responsibilities, things we may have never done before. With training, we can create a new pathway to fluency, in fact, even mastery in something new because we're creating new pathways. So let's think about it like this. If old thoughts are like a path, just think when we were younger, we used to walk to school and we would walk through what we call the pathway, which was actually a few people's backyards in hindsight. You may even think about a maze, or maybe you think about a trail. That's a good one, a trail that's going through a field. If those old thoughts have created that trail, that path, that visible walkway that is easy to follow. In fact, there's a trail that I walk near my house, and a lot of times I'm zoned out in a whole different world, walking meditation, and I'm still making it through that path with ease because I've done it so much. It's the same way when you're driving home and you look up and you're like, how did I get here? I don't even remember passing that sign or that getting off at that exit. We've done it so much. It's again, the automaticity of behavior, which we'll talk about some other day. But the neuroplasticity part means that we can form a new pathway, means we can start walking a new path. So now imagine a field. Maybe it's a cornfield, maybe it's a rice paddy, maybe it's a wildflowers, and you can visualize this. And now you start visualizing, and you can close your eyes and literally visualize the beautiful sun. Even the visual that you have here, that was a photo that I took in Bali. Actually, it was not Bali, it was another part of Indonesia. But those rice paddies, believe it or not, you don't see them, but there are paths. There are paths that you can just walk and walk and walk and walk, and we wear it down, and it becomes a well-worn trail. At first, the grass is tall, but with practice, the path becomes easier and easier and easier. So here's the key statement that I want you to walk away with today, and you just observe this during the week, is that the brain repeats what it practices. It automatically repeats what it practices. So now we can make the connection between our words that we automatically say and our thoughts. The brain repeats what it practices, whether you're aware of it or not, whether it's intentional or not. The brain repeats what it practices. It's the same way you can have, world-class golfers. The brain is repeating what it practices. How can he get that shot? How can he make that hole? The brain repeats what it practices. So now, these next few minutes, let's go into repathing thoughts. Repathing. You can use the word repathing if there are thoughts that you want to, kind of, I guess, create new ones. Or if you don't want to repath, just start a new path. You can start a new path. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're replacing your personality or my way of, my essence or my countenance, or maybe it does. It's just updating those old patterns. So the I'll just push through pattern, new pathway, I can move forward and I can still take care of myself. I can do both. Both can exist at the same time. Maybe an old pattern is like, oh, I should be able to handle this. And that just puts so much pressure, right? What if the new pathway is, it's okay. I'm learning as I go. Learning as I go. I'm learning as I go. That's something that I've had to really lean into these past few months, taking on an expansion project. And there's some things that I haven't done in this administratively before or lately. And so sometimes it's just simply saying to ourselves, if we're going to survive this hard season, we take that self-criticism and we turn it into self-compassion. It's okay to learn as I go. Sometimes we're thinking in our old way of being everything, all things to all people. I can't drop anything. But what if we created a daily new pathway by starting our morning just asking the question, what actually requires my energy today? What requires my energy today? Sometimes those who are fixers want to solve all the problems, come to the rescue. Maybe it's from an I need to fix this to what's the next wise step to take in this situation? And sometimes that next wise step is to do nothing. It's unfamiliar, it's unusual, maybe even difficult, but it could very well be a wise step to just do nothing. Don't come to the rescue. See where it goes. So this is not about abandoning the strength that we all are embodying and have gathered and garnered and used and benefited from all of our lives. It's just about creating sustainability as we navigate the cycles of hard seasons that may come and go. So as we think about that, I want you to take a moment to just take an old pattern and create a new pathway. Simple, easy. And these are not just words, because remember, the words come from the thought. And we don't want to abandon the word or the thought. We want to create a new pathway, because just abandoning it and not thinking about it, that's avoidance. And that is not a healthy coping strategy. So we don't want to avoid. We really want to confront. And as we confront, we get to choose the step that begins to create this new pathway. So we don't have to constantly convince ourselves. We get to train ourselves, to condition ourselves, to create a new pattern. So a lot of times hard seasons come about, and that's an opportunity for us to look at our thought patterns, the things that we may have been carrying for years. And again, some of those patterns served us well, but part of growth is realizing we are all allowed to update our operating system. So as you go into this week, this beautiful week, this wonderful week, this gift of a week, as you get ready to go into this week, even into this day, just ask yourself, where am I updating the OS? Keep your strength, but just give your mind a little more room to breathe. Let's go into our final closing breath work and let that sit for a moment as you reflect. And I always want you to leave here feeling powerful, empowered, tapping into that part of you that gets to co-create what comes next. In this community, we're not victims of anything. We are co-creators. And even if we've co-created something that we don't quite feel is suitable anymore, we can co-create something new. That's how powerful you are. That's how powerful you are. Are we ready? Let's go back to our breathing technique that we just learned. We're going to go in through our nose. Take another sip of air and just a little bit more in. And then out through our mouths. Take it nice and slow though. On your own cadence, take your next breath in through your nose. Whenever you're ready, take that extra sip of air through your nose. And whenever you feel that capacity, just slowly exhale out. One more time. Maybe this time you notice that the shoulders are starting to soften. Maybe the neck is starting to loosen up. Maybe you feel inclined to even stretch your neck area and roll your shoulders back and roll your shoulders forward like I am. So, as we go through this week, notice the thoughts that keep showing up automatically. Just notice them. Don't judge them. Just recognize them. Just notice them. And here's the important part about that is because the thoughts that we practice today, the brain will repeat. What we practice tomorrow, the brain will repeat. What we practice Wednesday, the brain will repeat. What we practice, the brain will repeat. And those become the pathways that we will walk in the days, weeks, months, years, decades ahead. So here's the beautiful thing as we close out here is that you're not walking into this week alone. Even though we're all coming together from different places for these few minutes each Monday morning, we come together to breathe, to reflect, and to prepare ourselves for the week ahead. So, together, may we move into this week with clear minds, with steady hearts, and room to breathe. May we carry what matters and release what doesn't. And remember that whenever, if ever, the week gets heavy, we can pause, we can breathe, we can exhale. Anybody like to share what you're taking into this week? Anybody like to share what came up for you today? You don't have to come off camera. You can just come off mute. Anybody want to share? It's a safe space to share. There's a thought that's going through your mind that's saying, yeah, I do want to share, but I don't. I don't want the attention, or I don't want to hear myself talking out loud. If you're feeling a nudge, here's another nudge. Feel free to share. Well, I think we are sharing internally. Katrina says, I would like to recognize the thought patterns just as data to begin to see where, let's see, to see where I need to create new pathways. Thank you, Katrina. Recognizing thought patterns just as data. Yeah, it's data that we've just used automatically without even thinking about it. So now we're becoming thoughtful about our thoughts. There we go. There we go. Well, remember, move through this week. May we all move through this week, collectively move through this week with strength, clarity, and breathing room. Until next week, exhale. Thank you, Monica. Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you for being here for yourself. Thank you for showing up. All right. Bye-bye. Until next week.